Hello, our Northern Lion, also Ryan if you're watching this by some grace of God. This is a visual guide to making combat viable foci in Thaumcraft 6. About as far as I've experimented, I've only ever found maybe 4 or 5 spells that were effective in any regard. 2 of them require special focus effects, though they're not really all that hard to get. First one here is Spellbat in the Oromancy tab. This one is pretty easy to get for those who already have it. If you don't, all you need to do is scan a bat or a hellbat. That's all you really need to do. Next one's a little bit more involved. This is Focus Medium Cloud. It's a secret one, it doesn't show up normally. How this is normally obtained is that you have to get to the Ender Dragon, you gotta punch it around, get a little bit angry at you, and have it throw its acid breath at you, at which point you take an empty bottle, you scoop it up, and then you scan that with your thermometer. Of course, that's a little bit difficult. Thankfully, there's a safer way to do that. First, you're going to need to make a nature's compass, which is just 4 saplings, 4 wood, and a compass. Pretty easy. You right-click with it in your hand, and you get this menu. Roll down till you find the magical forest. Search for it. This will point you towards the biome you're looking for, at least the closest one it can find. Now, it says distance 0 for me because I'm already in a magical forest, but this will work at any distance, that's fine. Once you're in here, you're going to look for something called a peck. It's like a little goblin thing with a backpack on. I don't have the time to wait for it, so I'm just going to try spawning one in creative mode. This is a peck forager. There's 2 other types, the mage and the stalker. You don't want those, they won't give you anything useful. The peck forager is what you want. Now, if I'm in survival, this guy will start running away from me. What you want to do is get a little greedy little shit to take your gold. Really only takes 1, but it can take from 3 to 5 if you're unlucky. What you do is you right click on it and you open up a little trade menu. Put your gold in, start trading 1 at a time, and you get stuff. We got it pretty easily. This is the Dragon's Breath. This is what you had to scan. It usually takes about 15 to 20 tries on average. I just got lucky here. Now once you do this, you get the cloud effect. Now let's just go over the spells for now. Most of you are going to be coming from the Reddit post on r/northernlion, but if you're not, there's a link for it in the description. We're going to be going in the spell order posted there. The first one here is Emergency Sauce. This is just a heal effect that's completely maxed out at 5 points. Now this is a pretty simple effect, it just heals you for 2.5 hearts every time. We're going to use the Blood Orb to damage ourselves slightly. I say slightly. Then we're going to cast Emergency Sauce. 3 casts, we're back to full. Now this is generally used with a sword in your main hand and the caster's gauntlet in your offhand. All you do is hold down right click while you swing your sword. That's really about it. Point of note, this spell specifically uses either a diamond sword or a tinker's broadsword in your main hand. Mainly because when you're casting it, the sword doesn't really do anything except bob up and down, which doesn't really matter. Every other sword has some sort of right-click functionality, especially using Tinker's Construct, so that tends to interfere with the casting. You kind of don't want that, so these swords are usually the best. Share the Sauce is a cloud-based AoE heal spell that heals you and your allies. What you do here is you set Touch, a cloud at 29 seconds and radius 3, and a heal at 2 points. At its baseline, the skill is only very good. When you actually spam cast it in an area, it becomes completely broken. Now how this works, let's just damage ourselves again, is that if I'm going to use Share the Sauce, all I do is cast it in an area, and I stand in it. This will last 29 seconds and it'll heal me right up. You can use this for whatever purposes you want, boss fights, regular battles, who knows. You can even use it if you want to cast your Blood Orb over and over again. Actually, speaking of that, why didn't I show you guys something? I'll damage myself a little bit. Then I'm going to equip, Share the Sauce again, but I'm going to cast it 3 times in the same area. Damage myself a little bit more. And I heal up way faster than I normally do. Then right click like a madman and it still won't kill me. And of course, if you do this with the gauntlet in your hand, all you do is point down, keep casting the thing, and This is what happens. This is, let's just call it a little bit broken. Either way, if you want sauce, all you gotta do, apply sauce to the floor. If someone asks you for sauce, you give them the sauce. It's good manners, basically. 1,000 Cuts over here is 1 step short of mustard gas and 2 steps short of a war crime. What you do here is you get a cloud, you set it to 9 seconds, and a radius of 2 blocks, cast it from a bolt, and then use a split target to cast it into Flux and Frost. This is the part that does damage, this is the part that slows the enemy. What you do with this skill, you slot it in, like so. Then you find a mob and you kill it dead. Let's try it with this skeleton over here. What you want to do is cast a little bit in front of it actually. You don't want to hit it dead on, otherwise it won't do all of its damage. Let's go like this. You see the skeleton over here? Yoink. And it's dead. Wonderful. What this does basically is whenever it hits, it casts a slowing cloud that basically locks the mob in place because mobs don't move very fast. And then the flux damages about 4 times a second. As long as they stand in it for about 2 seconds roughly, they just die. Even witches who have double the health of regular mobs. Now, the 1,000 Cuts spell is mainly suited for above ground usage, mainly because in an enclosed space, you really don't want to run into your own cloud. It'll shave off half your health before you even know it. What you want to use in an enclosed space is Death from Above. You set a scatter node to 10 trajectory forks, 360 degree spread angle, some spell bats targeting non-friendlies, and flux at a power of 4. What this does is summon 10 very angry spell bats that'll target any enemy that can get a decent path to. Now the pathing isn't always super reliable, but as long as you get a clear path, it should be fine. So let's say I want to cast things that go into here. I drop straight down, and I start casting. All I gotta do is stand and wait as they just run around and don't actually target me. Never mind the fact that I'm in creative, they wouldn't be able to target me anyways. Actually, you know what? I'll just turn it on just to prove a point. Isn't this fun? It's actually pretty great if you try to ignore the whole horrifying murder box part of it. You know, I do say enclosed spaces and above ground for each of the spells, but they are pretty flexible regardless. The Death from Above spell, you can use that to attack above ground mobs, though it does take a little bit of time for the bats to catch up to some of the faster moving ones. And you can also use 1,000 Cuts in enclosed spaces provided you get a good angle. Case in point, you know, somewhere deep in the indeterminable ether, Yosef Mengele is going, oh well, what this? Now there is a 5th spell here. This is mainly used as a damage aid to a PvP battle, or for fights that just don't work with your regular spells. It's just Flux Bolt. It is a Flux Bolt with power 5, and that's really about it. All you do is equip, it's just Flux Bolt, and then you just Flux Bolt. Like so. It's not particularly interesting. The graphics are pretty the first time you see it, but it quickly loses its luster. Usually you do this with a sword or some other similar endgame weapon in your main hand, mainly because those will do way more raw damage than a simple Flux Bolt will do. The Flux Bolt itself is for armor penetration, just in case they do have something that's really negating your sword blows. Now, a couple of questions I've gotten have basically boiled down to 2 things. 1, how does the cloud effect work and how does the mob stay in it? And 2, how can you upgrade some of these spells? Let's start with 1,000 Cuts. What this basically does is it freezes an enemy in place and then basically suffocates it to death. How it does that is a little bit of screwing with the Minecraft's physics engine. Essentially, if a hit is strong enough, it'll knock back the enemy, even if it's directionless like a cloud. If it's strong enough. What I do is intentionally leave their values at their minimum value, and then I use split target, which reduces their damage even further. What this does, essentially, is make Minecraft think that each individual tick of damage is far too weak to cause knockback, coupled with the fact that it's directionless, that the mob is still going to chase the player through the cloud as the damage ticks through. This way, you don't circumvent the mob mechanics of chasing you and trying to rip you a new asshole, while also damaging them. This will kill basically any mob, so even if it's moving or not moving, whatever. The only thing that can get out of it is an Enderman, or something that's moving way too fast, like a player. Now then again, spells just don't work on Endermen. None of them do. I've tried, trust me. So you're going to have to use a sword to hit them in the face. Now the second question I get asked, overarchingly, is how do you upgrade these spells if you get the greater focus? That means the upgraded tier from the advanced focus. Short answer, don't bother. These spells are strong enough on their own to kill almost any mob that you face, short of bosses and other players. And Enderman. Screw Enderman. What happens with these spells, that even if you get them stronger, you're going to increase their complexity. And a little known mechanic of Thaumcraft is that complexity increases the cooldown between casts. And cooldown between casts is a killer. If you can't cast a spell in time, you'll get hit, and you will die. That's basically the long and short of it. You want spells that do what you want for as low a cost as possible. If you get them too high, sure they'll look kick-ass, but they'll also cast once every 5 seconds, and that's really not worth it. I'll be honest, that's all I got. Cheers.